What's up, folks? I've been talking with a couple of people about something that kind of stood out to me that I feel needs to be more, like, to be addressed more frequently. And it talks about the structure of like the male mentality. And I feel the parts that need to be looked at more are the upbringing of the child. And what ends up happening is, like, as in the youth of a boy, it's like I think a lot of things aren't focused in the right way. There are too many things that are emphasized that shouldn't even be addressed at all. Like, for instance, I remember myself growing up being around a whole lot of, adult males, and the advice that I remember getting the most, it all had to do with like the sexuality or how I need to handle myself around like females and stuff like that. And as you get older, yeah, that's cool. But I mean, to be honest, a lot of the stuff that I ended up having to learn that I picked up on came through my own volitions. Like anything about science, technology, like math, whatever, anything that was applied or knowledgeable, I mean, that was all me. But it's like the influence, the focus on, say, anything that was about structural learning and anything that had to do with conducting yourself or how to survive, the concepts, the differences between a job and a career, how to develop strong social skills that had nothing to do with a gynocentric perspective. All of that was kind of like left out. It was like, oops, you know what I mean? Good luck, and um, I feel, I mean, I know for a fact I'm not the only one because it's like when you're a young boy, you're being taught to, I mean, immediately just be a man. And it's like, I remember being like, I mean, 6, 7 years old. Anytime something went down, I mean, I'm not allowed to cry about anything. It's like, you got to toughen up, toughen up, little shorty, do this. And it's like, I feel that has a ongoing, long term, psychological effect because it's like you spend your entire life not expressing your emotions, and it's like you don't. It's hard to really connect with anybody because I mean, it's like you don't even know how to express your own thoughts, and a lot of those things get how can I say, they become weaknesses when you have to deal with society. Like, and the reason why I say that is because when you're raising a young boy to be a tough man, a warrior, a hardened whatever, you tell them to fight, to defend yourself. Something goes down, yada yada. That's It's nothing wrong with learning to defend yourself, but the thing is, when that becomes like structurally all you know, and you're in a society where there are no, I mean, you're not going out there to go on the front lines. You're supposed to be preparing yourself in a society where your brain, your mind, your applied, your ambitions are going to be your weapons. These are going to be the things that keep you set. And you go out there, and the only thing you know is if somebody mess with me, I'm gonna beat them up or whatever. It's kind of like the wrong message, because the only thing that really stood out to me, like I was saying, is I just remember a whole lot of guys telling me how I need to conduct myself around a female, the way I need to dress, or it was a lot of condoning sexuality from, I mean, being as young as I'm like 7, 8 years old, and it was just, um, I mean, it's a lot there, and you get older, And I remember it's just, you got to learn how to work hard. You got to work, whatever, get your money. But like I was saying before, the differences between a job and a career, aspirations, going out there and having a focus. These things were not nowhere nearly as emphasized as sexuality or anything like that. I mean, even as something as simple as tying a tie. I mean, maybe this is just for me, but I used to take on hobbies of on learning how to tie different types of ties, different type of knots rather, and I ended up learning. I mean, just picking up a couple things on different gestures, different customs. Chivalry is always a thing, of course. I mean, just things like that. But when it came down to skills on how to interview, what are core skills that are necessary? I mean, a lot of things like that was kind of left out, and it's. I remember talking with my father a lot about structures on what it's like to be a black male, what type of things to expect out in society, how people are going to treat you, and I kind of think that's important too. But I think as a society, we emphasize more on we have this young child, they come up into the world, we tell them they need to be tough, don't show any emotions, don't be sad, whatever, suppress. And then when they're like teenagers or they're grown men, we expect them to know better, even though we didn't teach them anything. Like, because of a lot of those confusions, I mean, I've always been in my own ways socially awkward because my own interests have always been different than a lot of others. So there has been very little to no relation with many people at all because of that alone. So I continue to move forward with a lot of my own interests. Working construction for decades out of my life, becoming a computer scientist, working software engineering, robotics, physics, chemistry, whatever. I've taken on a lot of these things, and then it's like it took some time before I finally put interest in my own career, becoming a computer scientist, working towards that, having a focus. Other than that, I just went with what I knew. But I do feel like for my own children, like with my boys, I always try to make it so that they're more open to express themselves because there's nothing wrong with that. And at the same time, it'll stop them from having to deal with a lot of the psychological issues that will come later on, not being able to express yourself. Because I mean, as far as it was concerned for me, coming across, I mean, somebody stepped to you, you got a choice. Either, I mean, you defend yourself or, I mean, you don't. I've seen a lot of people who just got attacked and then they would get attacked over and over and over. And even me trying to be the nice and the decent person, I mean, no matter how respectful I was, it didn't mean anything to a lot of other young boys who were taught pretty much the same crap that I was, that you got to be tough, you got to be assertive, you got to be, completely dominant. There's nothing wrong with these as long as they're applied in the right areas. And it seems as though it's not getting better, because when I talk with a lot of these young dudes now, I mean, it's really no different. It's all of those areas of focus are always commonly it's always about violence and sexuality. What can how do you cope with any of that when you have an issue that is bothering you, but you can't express yourself because you've never been taught how to? You have all kinds of angers or whatever kind of issues, you have pain. But I mean, let's be real. If you're a dude and you have any type of pains or whatever going on, you're a bitch if you express that if you express that to someone else. People are going to clown you. You get ridiculed and there's shame. I mean, you don't have sexuality. You ain't flaunting it. There's more negativity. And the sucky thing about that is when you finally come to someone that you do finally meet that special person. Um, you can't even treat that person properly or even understand them because you were never taught how to understand anyone. Only thing you've been taught was suppress your own emotions and deal with anything that comes your way. And sometimes in some spots, that can be, a strength of his own. But I feel it's kind of double edged because you kind of have like these self destructive tendencies where, um, you know, you can't really connect with anybody. Nobody really understands you, and it becomes frustrating of its own. And the problem with that is you don't even know why you're angry or what's bothering you because you've never been taught how to break down or decipher any type of issues that are going on psychologically. And the crazy thing is, on the flip side, you're expected to deal with, say, another female who was, raised to deal with emotions, who was treated and raised in a different light. That it's like I can't be expected to understand someone um, who is used to dealing with emotions or used to, dealing with certain whatever struggles in life where I can't even handle my own. So it took some years, but I mean, going from feeling frustrated and angry with a lot of folks, I took the time to start breaking down what was actually bothering the hell out of me. And a lot of it had to do with um, the fact that I couldn't really connect with anyone. And that probably may or may not change, but at least knowing a lot of the issues that cause me problems, it helps in the long run. So I tell a lot of my boys and my girls too, I tell them, if you have an issue, you can always talk with me. You can always reach out to me. A lot of the adults in my time, that type of door wasn't open to me. It was like being a child means it's like almost equivalent with not even being a person. So it's like that kind of bothered me coming up because you don't really have anybody to talk to. You have experiences that you deal with, but all the adults are saying, well, I'm this age, seniority supersedes whatever the hell you could be dealing with because I've already done everything, which is also, a topic of its own, a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. What was your upbringing like? Were you raised to handle another person's, their psychological, structures, their endeavors? Maybe they had issues that you did not notice. I mean, I don't know. Let me know. All right.